see that?
The fuck? Identify yourself. Who the fuck are you?
It is great to be here to talk about stuff with Manga again, even if it is about something like Sonic X. But after watching almost all of the episodes again with him, we both came to the same conclusions about our top 5 best and top 5 worst episodes. Some of this may be obvious if you were keeping track in the 10 words or less segment, but we shan't keep you in suspense much longer. Let's go! Episode 73 comes in at number 5. Shadow breaks to the Blue Typhoon and attempts to assassinate Cosmo. And while there were some moments that annoyed me, like Shadow not explaining anything to everyone, and the fact that they had to have Sonic save Chris from an attack to give him a reason to be out cold during the episode, I really enjoyed it. There was some good tension in this episode. I loved how you could see the desperation in Tails' eyes when they were back to the wall, yet still determined to save Cosmo from the immortal Edgy the Hedgy. I loved the way it was done with little to no music as they are running away to show how serious the situation was. I love episodes with the danger slowly approaching when we know what the threat is capable of. And in this case, it gave me Doctor Who vibes, namely episodes such as Dalek and the Satan Pit when they're trying to escape from an enemy that's constantly after them. Bad CGI notwithstanding. While I didn't like the twist at the end of Cosmo being a spy as it came out of left field, I can kind of appreciate what they were trying to do with it. Almost like implying that the characters weren't even in the eye of the storm yet. And I did enjoy the cliffhanger moment. Sonic's down, Shadow's still on the ship, and Cosmo's exposed to be a spy. So it was a matter of putting on the next episode to find out what was next. The battle arc was my personal favourite arc. Despite how small it was, there were some brilliant moments that I loved. The comedy on this was brilliant. But then episode 46 happened. It pulled a complete 180 with your expectations. You're laughing at all the comedy that happens. But once Emerald, E-M-E-R-L, but once that thing wins against the Chaos Emerald, Sonic X just suddenly pulls a U-turn and starts tearing shit up. I loved how it was all done. While it was sudden, in a way it was kind of expected. Not to mention all that destruction. I have a feeling there's a double-digit body count behind Emerald's attack.
You see that, Eggman? That's how you attack shit.
But what really helps conclude it all was the final fight with Cream and Cheese defeating Emerald. The emotion was done so well. You could feel how much Cream didn't want to fight her friend. The feels hit us all, and I'm not ashamed to admit that the tears were there for me each time. The Meta X arc is the longest arc of the whole anime, and while it brought a lot of problems, it also introduced us to Cosmo the Cedrian, a character that, for the majority of the arc, was drinking nothing but depresso espressos. But during the latter half of the arc, she was building up on her character and her relationship with Tails, and it all led up to episode 77. When Cosmo saw Darko go from pulsing walnut to circle bomb and he was ready to destroy the universe with forestation, it was when we saw Cosmo offer herself as sacrifice to protect everyone. And the feels just came in. We saw hers and Tails' relationship build up to this point, and to have Tails be the one to pull the trigger to shoot her is what had me on the edge of my seat. His tears, his hesitation, his anger, I was shocked to see this happen. He knew what was at stake and what would happen to Cosmo, and I almost didn't want him to do it. Even though he had to. I didn't want to see my boy kill his own girlfriend, but there was no choice. And the moment he pulled the trigger is when I wept. It all worked so well together and made for a great penultimate episode. If Sonic X had more moments like this, it probably would be in my top 5 anime of all time. So the majority of the top 5 episodes have been about death, so let's go from that to something more light-hearted. Episode 14, the episode that made me realize this show should have been a lot better if Sonic landed in Helen's back garden instead of Chris. Not only did we see some adorable moments of Sonic wanting to take Helen across a lake to see some flowers, but we learned a lot about her character in a much shorter time than we learned of Chris's. The whole adventure with Sonic running away from the government while still adamant on taking Helen to see the flowers was a great time. And even the ending of Helen just excitedly telling the story to her parents and her mum tearing up over her wanting seconds, with the dad realizing on what's really important to where he should cut some hours of his work was just...
Ah! My heart!
Oh, and Tanaka fucking yeeting 3 government officials just proves why he is the best character.
I will die on this hill, fucking fight me.
Honestly, I would give this episode a 10 out of 10 and the number 1 slot, but those goddamn dark times had to be done. I honestly think that if you have an anime focused around a specific character or characters, there is nothing wrong with giving the side characters an episode or 2. While it can be a cock-up, it can work brilliantly. like in the case of episode 68. Shadow Rouge and Eggman save some humans who are fighting the Metarex, with Molly taking an interest in Shadow, thinking him as the Black Wind. But as the episode goes on, we see assassination attempts with explosives to Eggman being held at gunpoint while he ignores it like, lol, nope. It's one of those episodes that really show a different side to Eggman, as well as showing how the Metarex are a threat, not just to Sonic & Co, but to everyone else in the universe. This episode is paced differently compared to the normal episodes, and I love it. Especially with the great twists that would make M. Night Shyamalan swoon. Plus, it's great to see an episode where Eggman is portrayed differently, from someone who's normally the evil to Sonic's good and being the root cause of some of the worst jokes of the anime. In this case, he was almost like a different character, enjoying the ego boost of being a hero, and being calm and collected while at gunpoint just made me wish this was the Eggman we had in the anime overall. But of course, there's not always good things in life. 2020 taught us that after all. That joke's gonna be outdated. So let's talk about the worst episodes. Oh boy. I honestly think that while a show will have its bad moments, I do think that they can be better than boring episodes, because at least you can joke about some of the bad stuff. But that isn't the case with episode 66. This episode is just so boring. Yeah, there is some action at the end, and I guess there's some comedy to the crew flying through the anti-gravity chamber if that's your thing, but that gravity chamber moment is mainly a JPEG of them getting distorted. And that action scene? Sonic and Knuckles just taunt Yellow's Alcova to make him punch the ship to get it back in position to fly, lather Rinse Repeat for 5 minutes, then shoot the prick with the Sonic driver, and that's it. Jack and I would normally talk and joke about stuff when we watch Sonic X, and through the times we watched this episode, we just had nothing to say at all. Now, considering what I said about boring episodes, you think all these are boring ones, right? Oh no, bad is better than boring, but sheer stupidity is worse. That's the case with episode 34, where everyone mistakes Shadow for Sonic despite the times it clearly shows it's not him. And yes, I'm well aware that Jack covered this stuff earlier on, but the points are still there. I'm sorry, you can't convince me about any good reasons when there were blatantly two hedgehogs fighting in the well-lit street, and not Chris, Chuck, or even the absolute lad that is Tanaka say anything at all to the police who were all right fucking there. Honestly, because Tanaka didn't say anything, this is also a bad episode. Adapting a game to a show just doesn't work most of the time, as you have to stick to broadcasting schedules. And as such, when you start introducing new characters into the well-established lore, you get shit like this breaking the plot apart. Episode 41. Episode 41. Oh boy, right. So Eggman fixed half of the moon and there was a sudden constant eclipse because he said that the moon stopped moving due to a malfunction. The moon stopped moving. Think about that for a minute. But anyway, he absorbs sunlight via satellite and gives everyone sunshine balls. Sonic doesn't like this and starts destroying the solar towers, not saying anything to anyone, making the president declare Sonic an enemy to the people. Keep in mind, at this point in the anime, Sonic has been public enemy after the events of SA2, and yet the president decides to make him the enemy again. This episode screams stupidity and just makes you facepalm over and over again when everything comes to the stupid conclusions at the end. And I can understand Chris forgetting about how orbit works. Come on, he's 12, so he would forget something like that. But Tails just acts like he knew the whole time when Sonic explained shit. So why didn't you say anything before, you two-tailed mutant? Also, just going off script, I kind of realized that so the Earth is a sphere. At least a day went by when Station Square was in constant eclipse, but the other side of the world was still in the sun. Were they not affected? Like, did the astrologists on that side never say anything to the other side of the world? Like, I'm surprised we never saw the other side of the other world react to that shit. You know what I mean? So when I was originally writing the script on why I don't like episode 49. After watching it again, I realized that the plot of the two worlds merging made even less sense. Here's why. Buckle in. So Earth and Mobius were one and the same before splitting. The phrasing implies that it happened centuries or even millennia ago. Eggman was born on Earth, but then wound up on Mobius somehow. So did the split happen after he was born, thus explaining how he was somehow on Mobius? Because if so, that raises further questions. How long was Eggman on Mobius for? It's stated that 1 month on Mobius equals a year on Earth, and according to the Mobius Encyclopedia, he's 45. So we'll use that for reference. 1 year on Mobius is 12 years on Earth. Gerald Robotnik is is Eggman's granddad, and the space colony Ark incident happened 50 years ago. So assuming Gerald's son or daughter had Eggman at the minimum age of 18, and let's assume that Eggman was born during the time of the incident on the Ark, not even 5 years would have passed on Mobius. So how did Eggman become an adult in that time? If it was explained that his body aged through means of Earth time was still on Mobius, then fine. If it was explained that the world split ages ago and that Eggman was somehow sent to Mobius through some means, then again, fine, but that's also not been explained. The world splitting must have happened in living memory, the main reason being Shadow the Hedgehog. He looks exactly like a Mobian. Where else would Gerald get the inspiration to make the ultimate life form to look like that? I could believe that it was pure dumb luck that he just so conveniently made Shadow look like another species, but considering all the similarities, it's way too coincidental. I would believe the fact that he got the inspiration from the Mobians living on Earth at the time before the world split. But then this just goes on to the next point. Why doesn't anyone remember? The evidence lines up. It had to have occurred not that long ago. So surely some people would have remembered, right? Hell, what about Chuck? He's canonically 55, so he would have remembered seeing Mobians. And if you're thinking I'm pulling stuff out of my ass, it is canon in Sonic X, both sub and dub, that Chow Gardens are on Earth. And the Chad that is Tanaka played with the Chow when he was a kid, and he's 35. This one plot point is so stupid and is raising so many questions that my mind has done these mental gymnastics and I still don't have an answer. If Eggman was on Mobius his whole life, then roughly 540 years would have gone by, assuming we're still going on his age being 45. So if it was revealed that Eggman was born on Earth and that Gerald is a distant nephew of his, then that would have been way more believable. It'd be like Professor Farnsworth and Fry in Futurama. But it's the fact that Gerald is his granddad that throws the wrench in the works. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Why are you the way that you are?
So, with all I said in episode 49, you think that'd be my #1 worst episode, right?
Nope.
Episode 50 can still fuck off. Look, I'm aware I'm beating the horse so dead that not even Tesco wants the remains, but the episode is so bullshit with what it tries to pull. It's not enough to just let the characters go home. No, there has to be a problem, and it's a random military character who gets arrested at the end of it anyway. And just when we were going to be done with Chris, when his character arc was building up to this moment, he switches off the fucking portal. For the record, I'm not mad that Sonic was left behind. If Eggman rigged the portal to leave him behind, then I honestly would have preferred that. I would have had no problems, as it's not only good tension with the sudden build-up, but it makes more sense in the rest of the episode. Eggman provided Sonic & Co. with a computer chip that they needed for the portal to work. So why not rig it to leave Sonic behind and thus let Mobius fall under his reign so much easier? It's the fact that Chris did it when his character arc was coming to its end is where I draw the line. All in all, fuck this episode in particular. When Sonic X has its moments, it has its moments, but unfortunately the good moments are diamonds in the rough. I mean, yes, I praise the top 5 episodes for how they handle story writing and emotions, but keep in mind there are 78 episodes in this series, and the first lot are a slog if anything, adding in pointless lore that didn't need to be over-explained, like the Chaos Emeralds and the bullshit that they repel each other, and even how the characters are written most of the time. For the record, I'm not complaining about Sonic. He's written so well that I wish the games followed this side of him more often. But everyone else is so one-dimensional, almost to the point of being flanderized. Amy loves Sonic and nothing else. Tails is the techie nerd for the most part. Cream is just plain adorable but doesn't do anything until episode 46. And the human characters go from the Chad that is Tanaka to just plain forgettable. I liked the chemistry between Rouge and Topaz, but when watching, I couldn't help but feel Topaz was added purely for Rouge to have someone to talk to. Mr. Stewart was a nicely written character, but he's kind of brushed to the side after SA2, appearing for a moment in the battle arc and that's it. Bloody hell. Eggman is the one character that I honestly think was written the worst. In the Sonic games, he was a threat, leaving his badniks and egg pawns all over the place to try and take it over. In the anime, he was anything but. Yes, he places robots around to try and take over, but they're always one at a time. If he really wanted to win, he should have just sent them all out at once. Also, the Mount of Sutter was a brick to the face because the anime thinks all the viewers are stupid. So whenever he acts innocent or whatever, you always see the smirk he hides to remind you that don't worry, Bodhi McArsehole is still an asshole. The episodes of Sonic X before the established arcs follow a pattern for the most part. Their characters do whatever. Here's Eggman, here's new threat, give Sonic ring, Sonic destroys threat, lather, rinse, repeat. And for the most part, it's predictable, but it can work in others. Episode 10 and episode 20 are both great episodes if you want to have a small laugh here and there. But that's it, really. My other gripe with Sonic X is the setting itself. Now, for the record, there's nothing wrong with the setting on Earth with humans. On paper, it's a good idea. But considering the character they end up with is a rich kid in a mansion, it almost feels like there's no tension to worry about. The characters need to hide? Use the convenient 2-floor garage. Tails needs a new plane? Well, the rich family's granddad is an inventor and has been working on the X-Tornado. I get that picking a mansion setting makes sense for when you need to make room for at least 4 more characters, but it doesn't really help with anything else, especially when the kid himself is unlikable. Yes, I still think Sonic should have landed in Helen's house. There would have been much more room for conflict, making it more difficult to hide in the house, Sonic seeing Helen's parents struggle for her well-being, and even seeing a new side of him that we wouldn't see before. It honestly feels like the biggest waste of opportunity. Sonic X is an anime that is fine to watch in some areas and a pain in others. If you've watched it before and you find yourself going, oh god, it's this episode again, you know you're not watching it for a good time. Keep in mind, I've seen this series at least 3 times now, but I wasn't always going in with excitement. Unless it was a Chaotix episode. I say just don't watch the series, but if for some reason you feel like you must, then for God's sake watch the sub. My name is Sandra Major Mario, and I'll see you in the next one.
Wow. This has been a while, huh? You may have remembered me being on Everything Wrong with Sonic X with manga a couple years back. Well, here I am now, helping him out on his new video. Want to know my true feelings on Sonic X? Well, contrary to how I must have sounded back then, I actually have a soft spot for this show. I really think it's good. Not the best, not the worst, just okay. Granted, Chris was annoying and the combining of the human world is a little cliche at best, but it's the adventures of the show that really make me fond of it. As much as I don't like Chris, the adventures of Sonic and the gang can be hilarious to serious moments at times, to flat out just heartwarming. The show could have had more development story-wise, of course, as some arcs have seemed to flew by quickly or just really didn't make sense at all and just end abruptly. Despite it, I really enjoyed the show. I like how it has some character development with different characters like Sonic, Amy, Cream, Knuckles. And the best part is they brought back my boys, the Chaotix, in this for a couple of episodes for hilarious banter. And that was awesome. But other than that, I really admired how they tried to follow some of the in-game storyline. But they also went their own route too. And that's something that not a lot of TV shows do, especially based on certain IPs that have already been existing. I hope we get to see more Sonic-related shows like this, if not even better. Heck, I would love to have a show that would follow the IDW comics, especially with the... Well, I'll let you read on that. I think that's an own adventure to discover. But for now, I think Sonic X still has a soft spot on me, and I really enjoy the show, despite its flaws. Back to you, manga!
And that concludes everything. I'm done. I did my 10 words or less, I went in depth with each arc as much as I could, and I gave most of my grievances along with my praises. So with all of these arcs now reviewed, and now that Sonic X is completely done from my perspective anyway, was the series worth coming back to? On one side, yes, because I now feel at peace with myself that I gave as many thoughts on Sonic X in a video format that allows me to do so, but aside from that, no. I don't think so. Don't get me wrong, when Sonic X decides to be good, it can be a genuinely good series. When the emotional moments are handled properly, it can create scenes that are a real tearjerker, and when it's funny, it can occasionally leave me in tears. But those moments are few and far between. Out of 78 episodes, I can only say that a handful of those episodes were good, with no arc out of the series being consistently good all the way through. There's always an episode that drags the series down. There's always an episode that is boring. There is always an episode that just shatters the story's plot and hopes to be insightful or complex. Sonic X's fatal flaw for me is just the lack of consistency. I never knew which episode was going to be bad or which episode was going to keep me hooked. It was always a gamble on what I was going to get. And I don't know about you, but if I was to watch a show that is only sometimes really good, then I wouldn't consider watching it, because I know I could just be watching something else that is worth my time. Let me be completely honest with you. If I didn't make those Everything Wrong With videos 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have finished this anime. I'm serious. Getting through some of these episodes was a complete pain. While I do appreciate the show for trying occasionally to be something better than it is, I overall thought this series was a complete mess. I have no nostalgic bias towards this show since I never watched it when I was a kid, and if by some chance you're like me, I don't recommend you watching Sonic X sub or dub. There's plenty of other Sonic content for you to enjoy, so don't waste your time with this one. I'm confident in saying that you should just skip this. A handful of great moments do not carry a bad show, and Sonic X is exactly the kind of show I'm talking about. My name is Manga Writer, and at long last, I'm done. Thank you all so much for watching this retrospective.